Hi, Dr. Gary here. Good morning. It's still beautiful here at the beach, having a great time. A couple of incidents happened today about letter of intent we want to share with you. Once again, this is Dr. Gary. Dental practice is for sale. Dr. Gary on the road. We are dental practice brokers. I was a dentist for 25 years and we've now been doing the dental practice brokerage for 11 years. So we're here to give you valuable information. All the information you hear is for entertainment purposes. It is not legal or business advice. We're available to you 363 days a year. We take off Christmas and Easter. Call us 7:30 in the morning East Coast time till 9:30 in the morning East Coast time. We can answer your questions, especially for sellers if you have questions about DSO, in which they pay our commission, and I can sometimes get your legal fees paid, or a buyer will have some information for you too. So please give us a ring. Our phone number is 201-663-0935. If you'd like a free consultation on the value of your dental practice, please call us. Also, we can talk with you. We have 8 employees, and 2 of which are CPA accountants, so we're here to help you. Also with appraisals, if you need that, we're at your command. We are here. So try to get through to us. 201-663-0935 or our website, dentalpracticeguide.com. So today's topic is updated information on the letter of intent. That's the topic for today. So what happened within the last 2 hours, we have a buyer that wants to submit a letter of intent because they like the practice. We accompany them to the practice, as we say. We generally don't send them alone. That makes us a little different. When the buyer goes to visit a practice, we attempt, if we're in the state, to try to be there. We can't do that all the time, but we try. Usually in the New York, New Jersey metro area. Out of state, it's a little more challenging. The buyer wants to purchase the practice. So what we will do is give her a blank letter of intent that is non-binding, or she can use one that her attorney may supply. But one important thing, I know it's of minor consequence, whatever you put down in the letter of intent, although it's non-binding, it's best to put your price that you believe you're going to stick with. When you start changing that, it creates some bad will with the seller. Just stick with whatever price, unless something comes up which is extraordinarily wrong that you have to change the price. But this one doctor I did tell, and it's a minor point, but we'll give you a letter of intent via the computer that you can word process it. Please always type it out. It sounds like a minor issue. Do not handwrite out a letter of intent. Always type it out. It looks more professional. Even though a handwritten one is acceptable, even though it's non-binding, I'm telling you, after 11 years, it looks more professional. Always type it out. Secondly, if you're a seller and you just received a letter of intent, as one of my doctors just did, the process of negotiating the price, okay? Assuming this is not a DSO. If it's a DSO, you've got to get your attorney involved immediately. And I'm a firm believer in getting the attorney involved at any stage, especially a dental attorney. I think that's extremely important. But if it's a DSO purchase, you can't return any letter of intent without having your attorney look at it. That is critical. If it's a simple buyer-seller practice, low gross, maybe, we could go back and forth with letter of intent and give a counteroffer, but I would still prefer the attorney being involved. Regardless, we'll provide you a free letter of intent, generic, and you and I will negotiate a number. That is, I'm representing the seller. The seller and I will talk about a dollar amount that they're comfortable with. We'll verbally do that, and then verbally, and followed up by an email or text message, I'll call the buyer and say, here's the number we're at, here's our counteroffer, and then we'll talk about it. And hopefully we can come to a number that we're all comfortable with. I'm mentioning this to you now because this just happened in the last 2 hours. A buyer wanted to buy, a seller just got a letter of intent. So that's how you respond to the letter of intent. And if you then wish to consult your attorney before you respond, I'm fine with that. If you are a DSO, a seller, you're a seller to a DSO, absolutely you want your attorney involved early on. Early on, they've got to go through that. So this seller on the smaller practice will give me a response to the letter of intent that they received. I'll call the buyer and say, here's where I think we are. Buyer will agree or disagree or give another counter offer. That will be handled verbally and then followed up by an email and text to confirm what they said. We'll then send the final number that they say they want. We'll call the seller. We'll try to put that in a text or email so we don't get mixed who said what, and they'll have that. They once agree to that, we'll go on, contact the attorneys, and hopefully both buyer and seller have dental attorneys. Critical. Remember, I've told you that 100 times. Then the two attorneys will contact each other. I'll send the letter of intent to both attorneys, and the attorneys will initially move towards the contract. All right? Of course, at this time, we assume the buyer's already pre-approved from the bank. The buyer already has a dental attorney. And then with the letter of intent, the buyer's attorney will approach the landlord and say, look, we got a deal coming together. What can we put together here? Those are sort of your sequence stops. But once the letter of intent is delivered, the buyer and seller agree, then you have buyer applying for the bank loan, buyer negotiating with the landlord, seller creating the sale contract, and we negotiate. All three things are done simultaneously. We generally go straight to the go into contract. We're contracting at this point, moving towards the closing table. And that's it. Call me if you have questions. We're out there. I know it's complicated, but call me and we'll explain. Great talking to you. Have a wonderful day.